Howdy, Bearded Bristol here, and I am just a guy who likes to talk and paint. Haven't felt much like talking the last couple of weeks, just haven't had the meditation time to come up with something good to say. But nevertheless, made quite a bit of progress on this here sunset piece. The last video kind of worked on the pinks and yellows on the skies and the water there, and since then, moved on, done a lot of the detail work down in this part of the image, and gonna work today on some leaves in this kind of central area on the left-hand side. And yeah, there's a tree that kind of progresses up through the left center of the image, but there's leaves kind of throughout in this. And so we're gonna have some fun and try something that I have never done before. In fact, I'm not even sure I've seen it done before, so that should make this truly, truly, truly fun. Anyway, I'm going to dive in here, and we'll do a little talking after I get my brush, or cotton ball, all squirreled around the way I want it. I do have a little bit of paint mixed up. I have some yellow mixed with green here, and we're just going to kind of start to dab out some color here. And there's not a whole heck of a lot of actual bright yellow in this particular area. So what I'm doing is actually probably overstated for what it actually should be, but God bless watercolors, that's why we start light and work dark most of the time. And just dabbing some color kind of randomly. I have a mixture on my sponge, as it were, my cotton ball. I do have extras just in case I need it. But just kind of dabbing around here to get kind of the feel of the sunlight off of the leaves. And I don't want 100% coverage here. 90%-ish will do, and then we can go back in with a brush and make some more fun after a bit. But as I splash on the color and you see the hues of green, purple, whatnot, gonna take a little bit of time and talk about Twitter. That's right, Twitter. Everybody's favorite topic of discussion right now, right? Actually, it's nobody's nobody's favorite topic of discussion. But I think there's some important things that maybe some of us have missed in all of this that center around just freedom of speech. And, it's kind of funny because I have friends in other countries who don't have maybe the same freedoms of speech that our Constitution allows us, but it doesn't make the conversation any less relevant. The Elon Musk takeover of Twitter, which probably will fail a second time, brings some really interesting things to light, because there's some sentiment out there that we don't want Elon to have Twitter because he is an advocate for freedom of speech. And the first time I heard it, I about fell off of my chair, because freedom of speech is what, the United States anyway, was founded upon, among other things. But I mean, the freedom of speech is central to what the United States is and has historically been. And so to have somebody come out and advocate and say, we don't want that because he wants freedom of speech, and unbridled freedom of speech is bad for democracy. First of all, we're a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, but I digress. Not a true democracy anyway. But, the whole notion that some speech should be suppressed should frighten each and every one of us. There's an irony there, because you can't yell fire in a crowded theater and whatnot, public health and safety. But, the fact that ideas are being suppressed, and that, there's a point of view out there that's only acceptable if it's acceptable by a certain group of people, is wherein we seem to be seeing some of the problem here. And the free exchange of ideas would help sort all of that out. But instead, what we have is big tech censorship to the nth degree, and you've all seen it. I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway, because we are, you see the labels on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as far as, true and false, for more information, this post lacks context. And all of those things can be valuable and can be valued in, if we felt that we could actually trust the people who are making those decisions, or those algorithms, more importantly these days. Very little of this is actually done by, human touch, sense, and smell. But nevertheless, I'm sure many of you remember at the start of all of this, there was an outcry from those that felt that it was the China virus or the Wuhan virus. And that was shut down off of social media as fast as it could be posted. And yes, could it be inflammatory? Could it be defamatory? Absolutely, those things can be true. But there's lots of things out there that are inflammatory and defamatory. We have terrorists that have active social media accounts on Twitter, on Facebook and whatnot, probably on YouTube also. And those are not censored as heavily as was information relating to coronavirus. And I'm sure now, because I said those words, dang it, I said the words, I said them, this will probably now also get a tag. And that's fine, because I'm not going to say anything that I myself don't believe to be true. But, those posts relating to the China virus, to the Wuhan virus, were censored and taken down by big tech and big tech algorithms. Until recently. Because reports, a month or two ago, all of a sudden began surfacing that, well, the experts say virus may have started in a wet market in Wuhan, China. Should we call it the China virus? I don't know. I'm not here to decide that. But it turns out that those folks that were posting with it regarding it being wet market based, China based, end up being true. But in many ways, their credibility has been lost. Their shares, their likes, all of the things that make businesses go in a social media environment, those things had been taken away and or damaged because at the time the information was deemed to be incorrect. Well, you can't take that back. There's no take backs on that one. And it's really unfortunate, because if it truly was a free exchange of ideas and a place, a marketplace of ideas, those things never would have been censored. And, I'm sure there's a group of you out there that are suggesting, well, but Twitter's a private company. Instagram's a private company. They can do what they want. And you're absolutely right. They can, unless you market yourself as a place for a free exchange of ideas, in which case then that type of censorship goes against the tenets of your company. And YouTube is probably one of the best as it were, in terms of outlining all of the horrible things you can do to get yourself banned from the platform or temporarily silenced, etc. But that's kind of beside the point. The fact of the matter is, there was factual information out there that was being shut down because an algorithm or somebody somewhere else just didn't like it. And Elon Musk says enough is enough. And of course, many of you are fretting out there that former President Trump may get his Twitter reinstated if Elon Musk is allowed to purchase Twitter. And I say good. Not because I'm a Trump fan. The man was a blithering idiot when it came to social media. But his voice, of all voices, should probably have been allowed to be heard, as he was the elected president of the quote-unquote free world, as a lot of us, like to say, in relationship to the United States. The same way that President Biden is the president of the free world. All of that said, taking a stance against free speech, or the suggestion that maybe some speech should be censored, and again, I'm not saying we should take down videos of hate crimes and things of that nature, as YouTube already does a pretty okay job at, although maybe they're lagging at times, but that is well beyond my scope of the understanding. Nevertheless, there's the videos of people being bullied and beaten and bloodied. That is not something for the public discourse, unless, of course, it is part of a news-related event and not just Billy beating up Bobby on the playground. We have to stop glorifying that type of violence, but we need to be able to have honest, if not rude at times, discourse as it relates to ideas, as it relates to things like the pandemic. And again, this is something that I think that Musk is looking to reinstate. And I'm sitting here painting a very colorful painting, right? And we're all in the land of diversity now. We talk about that, frequently ad nauseum. And what would happen if all of a sudden somebody decided that my freedom of expression needed to be limited down to two colors? You get black and you get white. Go make a picture. Okay. Can I paint you a black and white picture? Yeah, I've done it before. I can paint you a black and white picture. Would I rather paint you a color picture? What would the world look like without pinks and blues? What would the world look like without dark grays, or without a nice azure hue? You start limiting the colors available, and you start limiting the freedom of expression. And this is really no different. You can argue semantics about health and safety and this and the other thing, but a limiting of the language is a limiting of the language, regardless of what language is being limited. And that is the libertarian part of me that's shouting out right now and saying, hey guys, over here, enough is enough. But even beyond that, one of the other criticisms of Musk is that we don't want a billionaire running and managing Twitter. You don't? Who do you suppose is running it now? Because Twitter is managed by a board of directors, and not the least of which on that board are groups like BlackRock, which is an investment firm, Morgan Stanley, Vanguard, These are all multi-billion and multi-trillion dollar operations. And they have representation on Twitter's board. Similarly, and I apologize because I actually meant to Google this prior to the video and did not, so this is a failure on my part. But if they own a giant stake that gets influence at Twitter, wouldn't you also suppose maybe they have giant stakes that get them influence with the likes of, I don't know, Moderna or Pfizer? And wouldn't that type of influence then lend itself to those companies suggesting that the information be limited? If it's anti-vaccination, for instance, if somebody comes out and says, my buddy died after having the second vaccine, and that post is now out in the world, don't you suppose that those giant mega corporation investment firms that could stand to make or lose millions of dollars on a single piece of negative information would be the first to react and suggest that that information is not only false, but it's harmful and should be taken down? There's somebody out there that's going to tell me I'm a conspiracy theorist, and it's not a theory if it's true. Besides, they're only I'm only paranoid if they aren't really out to get me. But no, these giant investment firms have a fiduciary responsibility to their clients to try to make money. And if the best way for them to do that is to conceal something potentially harmful or to misrepresent a little bit of information in the hopes of making their clients more money, thus themselves more money, by the way, why wouldn't they do it? I like to think I am a very noble lad. I want to do the right thing more often than not. But when you are talking about the level and scope of transaction, the profit loss margin that we are talking about in something like, I don't know, a worldwide vaccination, you don't think those corporations have a stake in what information is out on social media and would thus maybe want to taint or silence those differentiating those dissenting viewpoints? And I think that's getting lost in all of this, particularly because the news media, which also in large part was bought and paid for by Pfizer in one way or another, if you go out and seek, there's a YouTube video, and I believe if you just search Pfizer sponsor video maybe, you can see all of the things that they sponsored at every major news outlet, including Fox, in an attempt to try to silence, or shouldn't say silence, influence the narrative. And wow, that went by fast. My alarm is beeping here. So anyway, free speech, man, it's a thing. Don't silence it. Don't seek to silence it. We have to have a free exchange of ideas. We have to be able to argue with one another and dissent. And if you believe that the framers of the Constitution were all in agreement as that was being written, and or the Bill of Rights, you are sadly mistaken. The fundamentals of the United States are built on disagreement, and the exposition of differing viewpoints. And what we are seeing right now, particularly as it relates to Elon Musk and the Twitter potential takeover, or buyout, is that there is a segment of the population that is afraid to have actual free speech. And who knows, if Elon Musk does secure Twitter, nothing may change, or it may get worse. We don't know. So whether or not he should own it is kind of a moot point. It's going to happen or it's not. But the fear of him having it because he may open a gateway for free speech is, first of all, in my opinion, wonderful. But secondly, if you don't think it's wonderful, how much censorship are you okay with? Where does it stop? First, right now it's President Trump is banned. Some right-wing conservatives have been banned. Anything contrary to the current narrative of the COVID pandemic is being banned or has been banned previously. And we haven't learned our lesson. What's going to be next? It might be your viewpoint that's next. So let's keep the discourse honest and open and polite. You don't have to sling expletives at me to get your point across, although if you do, I'll just laugh. But anyway, I got my scotch. We made some progress here. The cotton ball thing actually really worked out pretty well. After it's completely dry, I'll go back and add some additional definition here. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have a little pipe, do a little more painting. Thanks for joining me. I think this one is a pretty important topic. If you like this, follow me on Instagram, Bearded Bristol. Watch more of my videos because I'm not always this smart. Sometimes are less smart, but I always hope to entertain and give you something new to think about. Until next time, take care.